Hi everyone, I'm Meghana, founder of Let's Curate, a global curator platform that empowers and celebrates independent artisans and artists from around the world. Welcome to another episode of our webcast series. So far, we've been fortunate to have had the opportunity to present some amazing talent from new places, new countries, and today is no different. I'm so excited to speak to Bridget O'Brien, an artist from Australia. She's appeared in group and solo exhibitions in Melbourne, Seoul, Sydney, Darwin, Las Vegas, and Nashville. Wow, that's a long list. This is one of the reasons I'm so thrilled to have you on our show, Bridget. And I want to tell our viewers that we are very honored to present 5 of her artworks on our platform. You'll see them very soon. Bridget, a big welcome to you.
Oh, hi. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to Australia.
Thank you so much. So let's go back a little bit, Bridget, to the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about when your journey began specifically into the art world?
Wow, it's really hard to say, when you grow up and you're always coloring in and things like that. So, I mean, the art world as a thing, that's something that came much later, of course. I only really entered an art world when I first had an exhibition, let's put it that way. So, that was after graduating in Darwin at Charles Darwin University. So that was about 20 years ago. Yeah, so it's been maybe I've been on a solo journey for a bit longer than that. So it's been quite a while. Yeah.
How would you describe your work? I know you've traveled extensively. You were born and brought up in Australia, but you also traveled extensively in Asia and other countries. So I want to kind of like follow up with 2 questions. So based on your travels, how has that, I guess, inspired your identity as an artist? And then how has that influenced your work over the time that you've spent doing all this?
Well, one of the things growing up in Australia is traveling when I was young, a lot around the outback, and I don't know, but there's just so much wonderful Aboriginal art in Australia, and a lot of it is just going back with the rock art, going back thousands and thousands of years. So it's really hard not to sort of notice that other people are making art, around you. And, traveling through mostly Asia, I've traveled, art takes on a new type of meaning everywhere you go, because the cultural meaning and the colors are different, the designs are specific, and so it can only really open your mind to understanding what the human mind can do. I guess, I don't know. I think I've forgotten the rest of the question, but I guess that one of the things that I learned in maybe India and in Korea was just so much about how seriously the artist was taken. It's not so much, I feel like, it was in Australia, wasn't taken so seriously, but I found that there was a great more respect for the artist overseas. So maybe that's just because in some respects it's a smaller country. In Australia, it's harder to find that kind of support or diversity. But yeah, I think traveling is the best thing for the artist. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, I'm assuming, were you very young when you traveled across Asia? And then, when you, I guess, visited these countries and saw, I guess, the art world, for lack of a better word, did it kind of inspire you towards certain techniques or towards certain colors or towards certain themes? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, colors are the things that I think really draw me in the most as an artist. Colors are something that I just I have a sensitivity to, I guess. I don't know, but I remember some very clear, beautiful paperworks in Calcutta where I saw some, some beautiful blue Krishna, and just the effect of the pigments on the paper really got me excited. I love the natural pigments, and I really wanted to find out about how some of those pigments were made. And, you know, so also in other countries, like in Korea, for example, colors are very distinctive, but you can see where they've traveled if you've you can follow sort of like the history of Buddhism across Asia. You can see, you know, the way colors can be used sort of in design as well, similarly, but then how they've been taken out of the temple, and when it becomes contemporary as well, it's a whole new thing. You know, it's a very different thing because it's enmeshed with another world history or art history. So things that I just love the differences that you can find. Yeah.
So would you say that your style is contemporary with the splash of kind of legacy and history, and obviously your own take on that because you've grown up in a completely different continent?
Yeah, I have to say it's completely abstract, and I really love to see people say, oh, is that what is there? And I say, well, I don't see what you see, but I mean, I'm very interested in the way it sort of provokes an interest, or it provokes a narrative, or it gives somebody something to see that I guess they identify with, but I just want to challenge them as well. So yeah, it's just yeah, it's something I describe as more like layers, you know, layers in time, and also it's also the impression of the body. So it is actually like a record of just moving, and it doesn't necessarily doesn't necessarily have to have any specific meaning, but it's just that resonance and the echo that I find very interesting. Because when you look at a lot of paintings or art or anything that's quite old, I think what really gets to me is that you connect with that artist at that point in time where they created it, and then you're in connection with that. So there's that sort of beautiful, and also the community that's been along the way viewing that. There's another community viewing that over time. So I'm fascinated by history and the way art come together. Yeah, definitely.
That's wonderful. It's interesting that there are some artists who like a literal interpretation of their art. You see what you see. And then there is the second group where more in line with what you're saying, where it's you take what you want to take from this piece of art. So it means completely different things to different people. That's very interesting.
Well, I guess it's, for me, I've read a lot of literature, and, you know, I like poetry, and I always think that, you know, the interpretation is so random. You don't know what people are going to come up to. They might not like it. They might not have anything from it. But it's sort of enjoyable for me to be making where I can challenge myself at the same time and keep going into depth, whatever depth. But at the same time, it's just it's just a piece of paper at the end of the day. So there's contradictions there.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, like I said earlier in the interview, we're presenting 5 of your artworks on our platform soon. It's a mini collection. I believe you have a couple of them with you. We would love for you to take us through the process and what was in your mind for a couple of the pieces that you know, we are showcasing on our platform.
All right, sure. I actually have them behind me on the wall that you might be able to see. They're
yes.
Sort of smashed together there. But I had some magnets, so I put them up. I've also got some of the woodcuts that I have here that I use. Some of these are actually made, I think, in North India, or even in Pakistan. So, or even, you know, but to me, I was given some of these as gifts, and then I think that they were used in the fabric tradition. So they have a sort of, I'm also very interested in textiles, so it connects me across to that sort of, the weaving and the printing and all of that. And these are some of my carvings on, this is just a sort of a design I made using Photoshop, and then I printed it onto the wood and carved it out. And sometimes the designs I make are just some text as well. Like this one says cul-de-sac. It was just something I was working with a friend on. And some things are quite random. Like this was a library receipt from a book that I borrowed, and I ended up, you know, just putting it onto there as well. But it's a bit of history for me. It's layering some identity in there. And the ones behind me, you know, they really do go together as a set of 5, because when I work on something, I like to work on a group. So they hang together as a group with their colors. And they are actually the freshest work that I've made. So I'm excited about them as you know, I have many other works, but these are the newest ones, and they come together quite well. So I'm excited about that. They have the cul-de-sac image, and sometimes it sort of looks like a landscape. Sometimes you might see like a tree, or it might look like there's a space that you can move into and imagine, you know, there's a much greater space behind it. So I tried to create that space, you know, and then the colors just sort of come in and they do their own thing with texture as well. So I like to use a bit of the groove, which also creates a sound when I'm making it. It's like a pressing down on the paper with the crayons, you know. It's a kind of it's full energy, and it's really quite fun and engrossing. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And it's interesting what you said, because I'm looking at the artwork, and to me, it's a series of paths leading deeper and deeper into something. So when I'm looking at it right now, and you know, I love colors, and I love that you've used the colors it's almost as if it came together organically. I mean, I feel like for me, that's the beauty in these pieces, because it doesn't feel like someone sat down and kind of on purpose said, let me put a green there, and it actually feels like it just meshed in a way which I can't explain, but it seems just so natural. So I personally love this collection. It's so vibrant, and like you said, I'm sure you're saying it's fresh because you worked on a bunch of things and now this stands out to you. But to me, it's something I feel like the freshness would not probably diminish over time. And I find that very special about this series that you've created, and especially, you know, the natural flow of colors. So, I guess that's what I take away from that as a layperson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that I'm always afraid to let my work go, because I always enjoy them. They're always like, these are unique individuals for me. And I will work on a piece, like seriously, for a long time until I'm quite happy with it, you know. And yeah, so they are layered over many months, actually. So the layers just keep pushing through until there's some sort of, I guess, some sort of a balance. Something happens.
Magic.
That's the mystery.
Let's just call it magic, because that's the only explanation which doesn't have rules and, you know, a template and, you know, references and things like that. So this is wonderful. So Bridget, as you stand today, what do you think has been the biggest learning up until now as an artist for you?
Wow. Oh, biggest learning. Well, you know, the hardest thing as an artist is to sort of to be an artist for yourself. And so that I think a lot of younger artists start and they need the attention from a crowd or an exhibition. And, you know, I've had a few, and maybe I'm not such a crowd person. So I tend to just sort of not really have a lot of exhibitions, because I don't necessarily need to have the crowd. And so the biggest learning is so that you and your friends or the people that are around you can grow through your art journey, rather than your art journey sort of stomping on others and making some kind of, you know, announcement as who you are. I don't think that that's quite necessary, because everyone has their own artistic nature, and there's no genius as an artist, I don't think, you know.
That's a wonderful, wonderful thought. And it's also refreshing. You kind of like, it's almost as if you've reached another level, because, and there's obviously nothing wrong with, you know, creating for others, you know, kind of gaining happiness when someone else feels happy when they see your, you know, your piece of work, and, you know, they get their own kind of satisfaction from that. But it's also interesting, and I feel it's a lot more, it's so evolved to kind of be in the state of mind where you're creating for just the sake of creating, and for the process, and for just like enjoying the process. And I think that makes a big difference in how it comes out in the end. So it's very nice to hear that from an artist, because you kind of let go of all the excess baggage, as they say. So that is, I mean, I feel like that's a very difficult, also it's a very difficult state of mind to reach. And there is no right and wrong, but it is a difficult state of mind to reach. So it's fantastic that, you know, you approach your process in that manner without having all those, I would say, unnecessary elements bogging you down.
Well, you can get performance anxiety, I guess, and it's not necessary. You know, to the end of the day, is your work any greater? I mean, if you're, you know, it should be just for a creative sense, should be a healing or a positive thing, and it shouldn't be so negative. And I guess maybe there are some constructs in the art world that I think that are sort of artificial constructs, you know, so I'm a little bit skeptical of some of them, that's all.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bridget. This has been such a refreshingly honest discussion. I love it. You know, this is one of the reasons I feel like this is why I like to speak to people from all across, because, you know, it's just getting an insight into not just a creator, but the philosophy behind each person's thinking. And, you know, I feel like there are people who, the platform for me is an avenue for people to kind of get to know you, get to know the artist, and not just look at the piece and, you know, just buy it off the store as such. I think there is so much every artist goes through to get that piece ready. And I feel like our viewers and listeners are also so keen on getting, it adds an additional element of, I would say, magic for the whole process. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this. This is wonderful.
No, I've enjoyed your enthusiasm. It's wonderful. It actually makes me feel so much more excited about what I'm doing. So thank you.
Absolutely. We are so thrilled to have your collection. It's going to be up soon. We will also post this webcast on our YouTube channels and, of course, all social media channels. So please stay tuned. And of course, for more updates, follow us on Instagram at @let's_curate. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Bridget. Thank you once again.
Thank you.